I'd like to call the Wednesday, May 17th meeting of the Boone County Board to order at 6:31. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance, then I'll ask everybody to be seated. And after that, Pastor Chris from Poplar Grove United Methodist will come up and give us a little chat and an invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Chris, go right ahead. If you'd like us to stand for the prayer, please just let us know and we'll stand. You're in charge now. And just a word of warning, the microphone, you have to hold it real close, almost eat it.
Okay. To the County Board Chairman, Carl Johnson, County Board members, other honored leaders, and guests, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you as well as to bring the invocation for tonight's meeting. I bring you greetings from the Poplar Grove United Methodist Church, located at 105 East Grove Street, that famous corner of Route 173 and Poplar Grove Road. When Chairman Johnson called and asked if I would speak and bring the invocation tonight, I asked, about how long do I have? And he said, you can say anything you'd like to say within 3 hours. We both laughed at that, and I said, well, that won't happen. Well, tonight he dropped it down to an hour and a half. But tonight that won't happen. Our congregation has been in Boone County since the 1830s as a community of faith, helping to meet the spiritual and the physical needs of people. We see ourselves as a community church which supports a mission to be a community where people are invited to become more deeply rooted in Christ, consistently growing in faith, and actively reaching out to all. We strive to live out this mission by welcoming all persons who enter our doors or seek our help, and being a resource to help people reach their God-given potential in areas of faith, communal life, and service. We are a community of faith that cares about the residents of our community, particularly the residents of North Boone, in which our church is located. Some of the ways we show our care in the past and in the present is by participating in the following community activities and missions. We helped found the North Boone Christian Food Pantry that's located in Capron with 3 other churches to continue to serve and support families who need and help from that community pantry. We have partnered with these various organizations to help people: the Belvedere YMCA, the Rockford Area Pregnancy Center, the University of Illinois Extension Center, Royal Family Kids, Boone Council on Aging, North Boone School District, the Salvation Army, the Boone County Habitat for Humanity, just to name a few organizations. In addition to collaborating with various agencies that help people, as a congregation, we give away a $500 monthly benevolence to local agencies that support families and individuals in need. No question asked. Often they are surprised to receive our $500 gift to them. We also host a free community meal on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays to feed anyone that comes into the doors. Every year we support Operation Christmas Child. We hold a community-wide vacation Bible school, and we sell our famous baked potatoes at Edwards Apple Orchard. I guarantee you, if you have one, you will not be disappointed. What we are really known for is how we treat people who experience our ministry. We are a family of faith who love people. And like the saying goes with Olive Garden, when you're at Poplar Grove Church, you're family. And so from our family to yours. I offer this prayer for tonight's meeting. Let us bow in prayer. Loving and gracious God, in a world of change, you placed eternity in our hearts and gave us power to discern good from evil. We give you thanks for this day, another day of blessing to do good in our world on behalf of your people. Tonight we pray for the leaders of our county and the work that is placed before them. Grant each of them sincerity of heart, that they may persistently seek the things that create and sustain life. Guide them by your Spirit to work passionately for justice for all people within this county, not forgetting the most vulnerable who cannot care for themselves. Help them to be authentic leaders who represent the best interests of the people they were elected to serve. May they love your people and walk with them, feel their pain, share their joys, dream their dreams, and strive to work together for a common goal and vision for our county. In all things, make us humble in spirit, kind in speech, loving in our action, and advocates for peace and justice. In your name we pray and give thanks. Amen.
Amen.
Pastor Chris, thank you very much, and thank you for the work you and your congregation do in our community.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Carl Johnson,
Here.
Sherry Branson,
Here.
Jeff Carlisle,
Here.
Denny Ellingson,
Here.
Sherry Gieske,
Here.
Carl Larson,
Here.
Ray Larson,
Here.
Jessica Mueller,
Here.
Marshall Newhouse, Bernard O'Malley,
Here.
Brad Stark,
Here.
Kathy Ward.
Here.
I would accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Carlisle, seconded by Bernie. Any additions or anything, Ken? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Accept a motion to approve the minutes of April 19th County Board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Carlisle, seconded by Ms. Gieske. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appointments. As you will notice, there are a couple of them. I have that here. Ms. Ward, I know that you had contacted me
Yes.
and asked to have one name pulled out and voted on separately. Would you still like that done?
Yes, thank you.
Is anyone opposed to having Tony Savino for Boone County Zoning Board of Appeals pulled out separately and voted on separately? Is anybody opposed to that? Okay, so we'll vote on that one separately. Can I have a motion to approve all other appointments as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. O'Malley, seconded by Mr. Newhouse. Any discussion? I'd like to say one quick thing. There are several appointments on here. A few of them we had multiple candidates on, and it just, in meeting with all these people that applied for these appointments, it just goes to reinforce to me how wonderful a community we have. We had, multiple people step up for various boards that were qualified, were great candidates, and were in it to do the right thing. And in some instances, it was a very, very difficult choice. So it's just good to note that there's a lot of good people out there. So, all right. All in favor as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would accept a motion to approve Tony Savino for Boone County Zoning Board of Appeals.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse, second by Mr. Ellingson. Any discussion? Ms. Ward?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, Chairman Johnson. The reason that I asked that this one be pulled out And you're absolutely right. We do have many, many people that volunteer to be part of our boards, and we have many good people that volunteer to be part of our boards. But and I have attended several of the meetings of the ZBA in the last few years. But also, if we look at our current yearbook right now, we find out that Mr. Savino is also on the Boone County Regional Planning Commission. And that would mean that he would take a look at whatever we're going to be discussing first on that level and vote on it, and then have a recommendation to the ZBA. And I really think that that's two positions that should be two different people, not one and the same person for both positions. That's why I asked that it be pulled out, and that's why I would be voting no. We have many people in this county that I believe would be happy to accept that position.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, this is going to be a pretty tough and difficult vote, I'm pretty sure. We have a resolution recognizing our county clerk, Mary Stewart, for her years of service to Boone County. Can I have a motion to approve that resolution first? Motion by Mr. Ellingson, seconded by Mr. Newhouse. He was waving first. All right. I'd like to read this resolution. It's resolution number 17-24. Whereas Mary Stewart began her career with Boone County in the Treasurer's Office in 1976. Whereas Mary Stewart transferred to the County Clerk and Recorder's Office in 1979. Whereas Mary Stewart became a full-time employee in the County Clerk and Recorder's Office in December 1980. Whereas Mary Stewart was promoted to the position of Chief Deputy Clerk in the County Clerk and Recorder's Office in July 2005. Whereas Mary Stewart was appointed to the position of County Clerk and Recorder in June 2011. Whereas, in addition to managing both offices of County Clerk and Recorder, Mary Stewart has been part of over 84 elections in Boone County, and for 12 of those elections, she served as the election authority. Whereas Mary Stewart has done an outstanding and exceptional job in managing all aspects of the County Clerk and Recorder's Office, including instituting the process of digitizing and back-indexing old land records, beginning an honors program for veterans, and to implementing a property fraud alert program for county residents. Now therefore be it resolved that the Boone County Board, County of Boone, State of Illinois, wishes to extend gratitude and appreciation to Mary S. Stewart for her years of service to Boone County and her outstanding administration of elections in the County Clerk and Recorder's Office. Before we clap, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. I have, you'll get this after I sign it, and we can frame it officially and stamp it. So, I've said it many, many times that we are blessed with very, very good people as elected officials and department heads, and Mary is no exception. She is one of the best. And truly, she's been kind of the glue that's kept a lot of things together through elections and in the County Clerk and Recorder's Office, and she's going to be very, very missed. We're excited for her and happy for her and her new adventures. So thank you, Mary, for all those years of service. Thank
Can
you
I
very,
say
very
one
much.
thing?
You absolutely may.
Okay. I thank you all so very, very much. And I just want to say I never could have done this without the support of my husband, who helped a lot on elections, and my family, and also mainly my work family. I have such a wonderful staff. I am so thankful. And thank you very much for your gratitude.
Now, not to deviate too much, but this is where I'm going to take a little bit of chairman's privilege. Since everybody's here, I had a couple of gifts I wanted to give you, Mary. Everybody knows when you retire, people tend to get you little goofy gifts. I didn't want this to go unnoticed by the public. So I bought you a couple of things so that you could remember your time here with the board and so you could move forward. Most of you probably noticed that Mary spends a lot of time writing up here. So I got a little concerned that maybe she's used all her pens. So I bought her a couple of pens that she can take with her. No charge to the county. I took care of those. And then I started wondering a little bit, when she retires, she spends so much time here, what on earth is she going to do with all this extra time? So, wandering through the store, it's summertime. I thought, what more than a bubble thing? So she can spread bubbles around, and we may see her in the park spreading bubbles. You never know. Then, lastly, I want her, or not lastly, this next one, I want her to make sure she can really focus and remember the county board and everything we've met to her. That was a struggle, but I was walking down an aisle and this hit me. Silly putty. So, take that how you want, but sometimes it gets a little crazy. So, some silly putty to remember the board. And this one is the most important one. If the treasurer were here, he'd be right up here with me, but it's going to really help the admin office. It's going to help me as chairman. It's going to help Julie in her new position. It'll help the treasurer and everyone else. We thought this is a lot of knowledge leaving, so we need some way to contact her. So I got her a smartphone. This is direct connect to all the offices here at the county board, so she can't fully get away. So,
Oh, so thoughtful. Thank you.
all for you. Thank you, Mary.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Thank you again.
You're welcome. All right, I suppose we should get down to serious business. Next up, we have recognition for the health department. There's Amanda.
Okay. Good evening, County Board. Good evening to members of the public. For those of you who I have not met personally, my name is Amanda Mail, and I am the Public Health Administrator at the Boone County Health Department. And I am pleased to stand before you this evening to introduce to you all a guest, Dr. Masood Altar, who is an MD and Master's in Public Health. He comes to us this evening to present special recognition to my department directly from the Illinois Department of Public Health. So I would like to invite Dr. Altar to come up and present our recognition this evening.
Do I have to say something? Well, it's my honor to be here, Mr. Chairman, board members, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm representing IDPH and Director of IDPH, Dr. Nirav Shah, to recognize Boone County as one of the health department who is being public health champion. Before I present the letter and the certificate to the health department, I'd like to say a few words about public health. And about 600,000 people, they die of heart disease in the United States. And that is every one person out of 4 deaths is because of the heart diseases. And heart disease is the leading cause of death for both men and women. And Boone County Health Department is an active partner in Love to Love Your Heart initiative, and they have done a great job. And through the initiative, Boone County has been providing education, screening, and community resources to vulnerable individuals to support them in reducing their risk of the heart disease. Heart disease is a disease which is preventable, and it is we have to really work with the community, educate the community, and most of the risk factors, what we have for the heart disease, they are preventable. And they have also successfully engaged community partners in the Salvation Army and local senior living apartment complex to provide health screening, medication, adherence to the workshops, and they have also engaged other community partners and resources, including Walgreens, and they have really done a great job. If you see, the healthcare spending is $3.2 trillion every year. And 75% of the healthcare spending of that goes to the healthcare. And out of that, what public health gets, only 3%. And you can imagine 3 cents out of $1 are being spent on prevention. And we need really more. And I tell you one thing, that every dollar we spend on prevention saves about $6 in healthcare spending in future. So we have to really invest in public health to prevent the diseases in this country. One more thing I want to tell, that what do you think about the longevity what we are enjoying? At the turn of the last century, the average age was somewhere between 40, 45 for men. For female, it was 48. And the female, they live longer because they do less sin. And I don't mean sin. I mean, they adopt good habits. And at the turn of the 2000, and it was 76 years, and at the last year, I think 2016, it has gone to 78. And it is all because of public health. Clean environment, proper disposal of the waste, proper immunization, and of course there's a lot of advancement in medicine, but that is only 10%. The 90% of thing is out of public health, and they do really good job. We should support them, and we should invest in public health, and that's how we can really save the country from chronic diseases, where we are spending trillions of money to prevent the diseases. All right, I think I have said enough. Before saying anything else, I would like to present this certificate of recognition to Amanda. And there is a letter from Neerav Shah also. And I would like to present to you, and I would like Ellen Genrich. She is ERC and the PIO for Public Health, Department of Public Health, to read out the letter, please.
Thank you, Masood. This is a letter to us, Boone County Health Department, specifically to our Public Health Administrator, dear Ms. Mal. On behalf of Governor Bruce Rauner and the entire 1,100 staff members of the Illinois Department of Public Health, it is my pleasure to acknowledge the extraordinary contributions the Boone County Health Department has made to the health and well-being of your community. Each year, National Public Health Week and National Minority Health Month is observed to raise awareness about the power of prevention, advocacy efforts for healthy and fair policies, the role of a strong public health system, and accelerating health equity. The Illinois Department of Public Health recognizes public health champions throughout the state during this time of year. The Public Health Champion Award honors remarkable individuals and organizations as a way to thank them for improving the health of the public and to celebrate their achievements. The Public Health Champion Award is given to those who seldom are recognized for their contributions, but whose efforts have been vital. Though you do not always make the news, you truly make a difference. You and your team at the Boone County Health Department help make your community a healthier place to live and work without expectations of recognition or gratitude. I thank you and your team for all that you do to improve public health in Illinois. Individuals like you make Illinois a healthier and stronger state. Very truly yours, Dr. Neerav Shah.
So I'm not the one doing all the work. I'd like my staff who are here tonight to stand up and please be recognized, because they're the ones that are making this happen, and they're the ones that are keeping this community safe and healthy. Thank you. And lastly, I would like to invite Lieutenant Tomas Valladares, who's the Corps Officer and Pastor of the Salvation Army here in Belvedere, to please come up and give just a brief statement of the important partnership that has earned this achievement award, being recognized by the state of Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor for me to be here. Good evening to everyone. And it is important for the Salvation Army to partnership with agencies like the Health Department. The Salvation Army is led by officers ordained ministers who supervise the many programs and services provided in the area. Belvedere Community Center Salvation Army has been serving Boone County since 1888. Proud to say 129 years serving Boone County. A part of our social services every month, we provide our monthly food distribution to the community. And during this program, we are proud to say that we partnership with the Boone County Health Department. The Health Department provides free services during our monthly food distribution. And we believe that this program, it is important for people in the community because they are not just learning, but also getting educated at the same time about their own health. Because of the importance of the screening that the Health Department is now providing at the Salvation Army, we have clients who come and get their blood pressure screened and get information for their better understanding and care of their health. We are blessed to provide this kind of services to the community, and we thank the Boone County Health Department for being part of our mission to serve without any discrimination and to provide educative information to the community of Boone County. We are blessed to be in partnership with you, so thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations to you, Amanda, and the whole Health Department staff. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your recognition of the work they do. Thank you. Next up, public comments. I have two here. Stephen Cavallong.
Good evening. Steve Cavallari. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Just like the car they used to make. I represent...
Could you give us your address for the record?
Oh, no
please?
problem. Steve Cavallari, 135 Shadowbrook Street, Capron, Illinois.
Thank you.
I represent a group of the former board of Capron. We have a bit of a problem with the new administration, and we have residents that are, in order to give it the short end of it, we have a lot of residents that are very, very concerned, unfortunately, about the water supply, the health of the community. The new administration, to put it very nicely, they painted themselves into a corner, and we're not sure if they're going to be able to handle finances as far as being able to pay bills as well as the employees. I just want to make this more public because it actually, we have people that are getting pretty close to being upset and panicking. I really want to know, the county board, I've talked to the administrator, he's very helpful, nice guy, but there's very limited resources on the county level, so we have talked to the Attorney General. But as far as immediate purposes, what can the board do to help maintain our water quality, and as well as maintaining our people that have worked there for years and one guy a decade? Like I say, we have a lot of older residents that are very, very concerned. And I wanted to bring this up in public so this way everyone here knew was on the same page. Without getting into the problems, it just happened within a week or two. So unfortunately, that's a question that I kind of put out to the board right now. How fast can they step in order to ensure, you know, our safety and security?
If you're
Asking the question.
You know, typically this is not a discourse, but I'll tell you that if you're concerned about your water quality and things of that nature, I would contact the Illinois EPA office in Rockford, talk to them, give them your concerns, and ask that they stay on top of the situation. As far as employees in the city of Capron, that's entirely up to the new board and the city of Capron as to how they want to run their finances, how they want to do those things. The county board doesn't really have any jurisdiction to do anything in the city of Capron or anything like that. It would, your best recourse is the Attorney General's office and the Illinois EPA, both for water and sanitary type issues.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next up, I have Paul Brugman. Okay. Oh, okay. You sure you don't want to just come up and talk with us for a while? All right, thank you very much. Next up, reports from community agencies, Council on Aging.
They did meet a couple days ago, but I was not able to attend.
All right. Growth Dimensions. There's Pam.
Good evening. Good evening. I just wanted to give a few updates. We had an annual dinner in April, which Rob Gerberts from Hendricks Group had come out and talked, and I appreciate everyone who was in attendance. We had about 240 people that was in attendance that evening. Over 10,000 was made in net revenue from that meeting. We're already planning for next year, beginning with securing our next speaker. So I just wanted to thank everybody for attendance, and it was a great event. We're also having what we call Wired Wednesday on May 24th at Tropical Oasis in the evening. This is an event in order to present a topic of interest and networking for businesses in our community. We have a speaker, Bo Boger, with the Small Business Development Center that will be sharing some information about how marketing plans and how we can engage some of the resources in our community. We also were participating with Congressman Kinzinger's office, as well as the Rockford Area Economic Development Council last week in a partnership in which we were able to bring the FCA and suppliers to talk to potential suppliers for Tier 1. They had the opportunity to have a presentation, a panel, and listen to the current suppliers, what their priorities are in order to contract with them, as well as an opportunity to network and interview with them. We have also engaged in some business development. We had met with a Swedish company earlier this week that's interested in establishing a site in North America. They met with manufacturers and business leaders in the community to discuss potential partnerships and sites and opportunities. Growth Dimensions will be following up with them and providing them with some labor market data in order to encourage them and compare with other states that they're considering. We also have another project that we submitted, a prospective company that we submitted in late March that they provide us with some additional requirements. If they are further interested, this could mean an $8 to $12 million investment and up to 70 jobs. We're also working with enterprise zones. Since January 1st this year, we've had 44 projects or certificates, enterprise zone certificates. That's 36 industrial and 7 commercial. and that it's for 13 businesses in our community. And it's throughout Boone County, so not just Belvedere, but it also includes Caperton and Poplar Grove. Our estimated capital investment has been just under $20 million. Their capital investment has been just under $20 million. And their estimated construction and materials have been about $1.7 million. So that's just a tremendous investment in our community. We've also been engaged in some workforce development initiatives with talent in the pipeline management. That's an opportunity for manufacturers to meet with educators and identify some shared issues and problems, and we're meeting this Friday to discuss some potential solutions. Growth Dimensions is also presenting at Chamber of Commerce on, the Belvedere Area Chamber of Commerce on June 29th. We're going to be presenting to the Rockford Board of Realtors on the 1st of June and to the Illinois Government Finance Officers Association in July. Is there any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Fettis? Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, Board of Health. Oh, I'm sorry, CASA. Sorry, Charlotte, didn't mean to look over you.
I know I wasn't here last month, but it's good. For those that don't know, I'm Charlotte Meyer. I'm the director of Boone County CASA, and we train volunteers to advocate for abused and neglected kids in our community. We are currently serving 50 children. We have 20 active advocates right now and 2 advocates that are currently in training. So they'll be sworn in early July. We have closed 11 child cases so far this year, which is amazing. And we have 5 more that are closing within the next 2 weeks. So those are children that have been returned home to their parents and also children that have been adopted. We do have a Culver's Night coming up on June 13th. That is from 5 to 8, and we receive a portion of the sales during that time. So we'd love to have you all join us at Culver's. And other than that, we are scheduling other small fundraisers throughout the summer and then working on our Celebrity Roast, which is September 14th, and we are roasting Gary Turner. So if you're interested in helping with that, we're still accepting sponsorships and donations for our auction and those sorts of things. So by all means, give me a call at the CASA office if you're interested.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now it's the Health Department.
All right. So our program highlight for the month of May is the Boone County Health Department's FEP program, which is Public Health Emergency Preparedness. So what is FEP, or Public Health Emergency Preparedness? It is the capacity to prevent, protect against, quickly respond to, and recover from health emergencies, particularly those whose scale, timing, or unpredictability threatens to overwhelm routine capabilities. So our emergency response coordinator, Alan Genrich, who is here with us this evening, heads up this program, and she works very closely with a lot of our community partners, whether it be local law enforcement, local elected officials such as yourself, many of our social service agencies, fire and rescue, EMS, our local hospital systems, to prepare and plan for emergencies. So that could be anything from an epidemic or a tornado, watching for one right now, or any type of emergency that might disrupt the status quo of our community and potentially pose a threat. So we do a lot of planning and we do a lot of exercising for this program. I don't know if any of you have ever attended one of our full-scale exercises or our tabletop exercises, but they're really a great opportunity for you to see what goes into the planning process for responding and responding quickly. A tabletop exercise that we did last year included preparation for a transmissible illness called glanders that passes through horses and mules, and we simulated that happening at the Boone County Fair and what we would need to do to quickly vaccinate livestock and or quarantine livestock to keep both the other livestock and the humans who are attending the event safe. So just to give you an example, one of our current initiatives is that we are the 4th county in Illinois to conduct a CASPR, which is a community assessment for public health emergency response. And we are actually going door to door in the community. We've identified using GIS mapping, and so we've been working very closely with Grant from County GIS to map and randomly locate households where we can interview families to find out exactly what their willingness would be to evacuate in the case of an emergency, identify where they get their information in times of crisis or in times of emergency. Do they have enough medications for their family and for those needs? Do they have someone on oxygen that would need electricity? Do they know how to evacuate not only their homes but the immediate vicinity in the case of an emergency? And so it really assesses the community's readiness to be safe in an emergency. So that's just a brief overview of our FEP program. Are there any questions?
Questions for the Health Department? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Next up, Regional Planning Council. This one almost threw me for a loop, and then I realized, oh, it's the old Edney. Ken changed the name on me. The RPC, we just had a meeting yesterday, kind of a long meeting, but it was more of a get to know what the RPC does for the 3 new mayors that are on the board. So not a lot of action happening, just kind of talking about where we're at, where we're going, the integration of WinGIS into the RPC, and moving forward with that. So not a whole lot. Ken, anything else that you can remember?
Nope, that's good.
Okay. Anything else? Any other committees people want to talk about? Mr. Newhouse.
I make a comment, or particularly 5 points about the latest activity for the Great Lakes Basin Railroad.
Yes, please.
Mr. Patton has met the deadline, and he has submitted an application. 5 significant points is that when his proposed path came through Boone County, there is a 200-foot right-of-way. For the east-west, I think east-west portions now, he has moved that to 2,000. It will, and that's quite a wide right-of-way. The new version of the Ileana Expressway, now called the Burnham Private Funded Tollway, is part of it. And also part of Patton's plan, it includes a version of the South Suburban Airport, all down by Kankakee. Second, Patton...
Excuse me, Mr. Newhouse.
Yes.
I'm being asked if you would please move your microphone a little closer.
Mr. Patton declares they don't plan on using federal funding, but this does not rule it out. In interviews years ago, his advisors said they will be using federal loans. Boone County is still Mr. Patton's second favorite path, but ultimately the Surface Transportation Board will decide. Fourth, for months, Patton has declared the cost at approximately $8 billion. Now it has dropped to $2.8 billion, but he has indicated that country roads will be closed. Finally, there are still no committed rail lines interested in it, and there is a protective order prohibiting anyone to know who the investors are.
Thank you, Mr. Newhouse. Any questions for Mr. Newhouse from the board? Thank you. Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
Next up, consent agenda. One thing I'd like to point out on the consent agenda, once again, we have donations, and I think when people donate to the community, they need to be recognized. So I have donations from Robert and Christine Bagelman in memory of Scott Bagelman. They're in Stockton, California currently. A donation from Margie Carlson from Belvedere, Illinois, and from Heather Ruiz in Belvedere, Illinois. Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Branson, second by Mr. Carlisle. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, standing committees, planning, zoning, and building. Mr. Ellingson.
Thank you. We have 9.1 as a motion to approve case 10-2017, Lemus 221 and 219 Liverpool Drive. The applicant is requesting approval of the replat of lots 102 and 103 of Candlewick Lake, Unit 9 into Lot E, Unit 9, and the vacation of the utility easement and setbacks between the two lots. It has accepted approval each step of the way so far.
Motion by Mr. Ellingson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Larson. Discussion. Staff, anything you'd like to say? Okay. Is the applicant here? Would you like to say anything this time? No. All right. All in favor of the motion as presented?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, 9.2 is a motion to approve ordinance 17-11, case 1 of 2017. Michael Bush, the applicant, Michael Bush, 6677 Logan Avenue, Belvedere, Illinois, is requesting a zoning map amendment under subsection 2.12.2.c, amending the zoning map special uses of section 2.10, text and map amendments, comprehensive plan amendments of Chapter 2, Administration, Enforcement, and Procedures, and Section 3.9, Local Business District of Chapter 3. Districts and general provisions of the Boone County zoning ordinance to amend the Boone County zoning map from A1, Agricultural Preservation District, to B1, Local Business District. The subject property with PIN 06-32-300-009 is located between U.S. Route 20 and Chrysler Drive on the east side of the city of Belvedere limits in unincorporated Bonus Township, Boone County, Illinois, on 3.53 acres. Staff approved, ZBA approved, and PCB approved.
Motion by Mr. Ellingson. Is there a second? By Ms. Gieske. Yep. Discussion. Staff, Hillary, anything you'd like to comment on? Okay, I see the applicant's representative is here. Anything you'd like to say? Okay. One last time for discussion. All in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. 9.3 is a motion to approve ordinance number 12, case 2-2017, Michael Bush, the applicant, Michael Bush, 6677 Logan Avenue, Belvedere, is requesting a special use permit to construct an electronic message center sign off-site in the B1 Local Business District pursuant to Section 2.7 Special Uses and Section 5.6.7 Signs and Outdoor Advertising in Business and Industrial Districts of the Boone County zoning ordinance. And subject property, PIN 06-32-300-009, is located between U.S. Route 20 and Chrysler Drive on the east side of the city of Belvedere limits in unincorporated Bonus Township, Boone County, Illinois, on 3.53 acres. Staff denied it. The Regional Planning Committee accepted it 5-0. ZBA and PZB both voted 0-5 opposed to it.
Motion by Mr. Ellingson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Newhouse. Discussion. Questions from the board or anything you'd like to say, Mr. Ellingson?
No, but
Hillary?
Yeah, Hillary might.
I don't have comment unless you guys have questions.
Okay.
The applicants? No? Mr. Newhouse.
I would just comment that this would set in motion a change to begin advertising and potentially lighting up the areas, and I don't think we're ready for it at that time. At this time, excuse me.
Ms. Gieske, did you have something?
Yeah, I guess I guess staff denied this. Could I ask why?
Staff denied this in the fact that we don't offer off-site electronic signs right now. The location doesn't necessarily seem suitable for it since there's nothing around it other than agricultural land at this time. I believe it's a bit before its time. You know, when development gets there, I would see that this would be better suited.
May I?
Ms. Gieske?
What is the sign going to advertise?
Anything that the applicant wishes to partner with businesses, correct?
So this is a lit this is a lit billboard, so to speak.
Well, the application before us right now would just be like the applicable signage that we allow for electronic messaging right now for other, like what the city of township Belvedere has.
Township has one,
Yeah, so it would be that size,
Okay.
similar, but just off-site at that location.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? Ms. Ward?
The question that I ask at the committee level, and I think this is kind of important, it does not bring additional money into the county after the building permit fee is paid, correct?
We don't provide or require licenses for things such as that, so after the building permit fee would be paid, there would be no more revenue on behalf of governing it or administering it.
Thank you.
Mr. Carlisle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hillary, we do not have a sign policy.
Can you elaborate? We do have sign ordinances for the county. We don't have anything that specifically states about billboard regulations.
So we do have a sign policy. Same one that the township utilized when they installed the one up there on Fairgrounds Road.
Correct. There was a text amendment added to allow electronic messaging signs. Can't remember the ordinance off the top of my head, but yes, it allowed that new addition to our sign ordinance to allow for electronic messaging signs, and it limited a size to 32 square feet both sides and 46 square feet one side. So there's a limitation, so it doesn't necessarily speak in favor or about anything about billboards.
If I may. As far as we know, this is, I remember the meeting, I was there, I'm just trying to refresh my memory. There wasn't any specific ordinances against it. It was relatively new, but associated with a similar type of sign that we currently have on the north side of town, which actually advertises for the community and for the township. This one is virtually the same size.
Yeah, the applicant had stated that, here, do you want to speak on behalf of this?
If you would, please just state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. My name is Brian Lansu. I'm with the Lansu Law Firm. It's located at 2250 Southwind Boulevard in Bartlett, Illinois, and I represent the applicant. The genesis for the application, and obviously the board has considered the zoning change from A1 to B1, is that the property, which is located just south of US 20 and just north of Chrysler Drive, essentially at the curve of US 20 on the east side of Belvedere as it enters into the town, but in unincorporated Bonus Township, is that it would allow for, with the zoning change, an electronic message center under the current Boone County Code, which could be used to advertise either regional businesses or to provide public information in an area that the applicant submits is conducive to traffic as it enters into or leaves the town of Belvedere, which is the basis for the application. Again, the applicant is mindful of the Boone County Comprehensive Plan, the statements therein regarding preservation of natural beauty, not impacting the property values of local properties. However, this particular application seeks only to allow for a sign that is already provided for under the Boone County Code for purposes of either regional advertising or the production of local information to residents as they enter into or leave the town of Belvedere.
If I may. So you don't have current customers set up for this particular application?
Not at this time, no.
So when do you think you might have applicants for this particular application?
Well, the period would be within 1 year of granting of the special use.
Do you have any specific applications that you're looking for and are being specific with the county in mind?
Again, I would say regional advertising or public information would be the limited market for that type of sign.
I'm sorry, you said reasonable?
Regional.
Regional. Well,
Local
reasonable kind of comes in effect too, you know.
We could consider that as well.
Yeah, I'm concerned making sure that we have reasonable conservative advertising on this type of sign. Okay, because I know the property, I know where it's at. I got it now. I remember the conversation. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any further discussion or questions? Mr. Ellingson.
Yeah, I guess I just would mention that I think as we talked about it, and it came across several meetings, it doesn't really meet the guidelines we have set up in the county at this time, it appears. And I think another thing that came into play a couple times, if you think about the size of the sign at the township, that's a sign that people read at 30, 35 miles an hour. Out here, you're looking at the same size sign trying to read at 50 to 65 miles an hour. It just doesn't seem like it really fits the area, and I think that's what we've said all the way through on this, even with other codes. It is supposed to fit with the area where it would be setting, and it seems like that's failing right now in an ag area, you know, with people traveling at higher speeds.
Anything further? Roll call, please.
Carl Johnson,
No.
Sherry Branson,
No.
Jeff Carlisle,
No.
Denny Ellingson,
No.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
No.
Ray Larson,
No.
Jessica Mueller,
No.
Marshall Newhouse,
No.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward.
No.
Motion fails. Mr. Ellingson.
Okay, case 9.4, motion to approve ordinance. Motion to approve ordinance 17-13, case 3-2017, Michael Bush. The applicant, Michael Bush of Logan Avenue in Belvedere, is requesting a text amendment to the Boone County zoning ordinance regarding section 5.6, signs and outdoor advertising, by adding language to 5.6.8, off-site signs for billboards. Currently, the zoning ordinance does not allow billboards and electronic message centers. Are a special under section 5.6.7, signs and outdoor advertising in business and industrial districts. The proposed additions are to allow billboards and allow them to be electronic message centers. Staff denied, ZBA was 0-5, PZB was 0-5, opposed to it.
Motion by Mr. Ellingson. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mr. Larson. Discussion. Mr. Ellingson, anything you want to add? Ms. Gieske?
So this one is different from the previous one because this is now about billboards. Am I getting that correct?
That is correct. That's the third request that we're looking at now.
Right.
Would add a text amendment to our current sign code to allow billboards.
Right.
And then provisions and verbiage for regulating them. It would allow them as is and as electronic.
Thank you.
Mr. Carlisle.
Hillary, can you give me an idea, or I don't want to put this so I don't put it in the spot. Are you confident that we have a electronic sign policy?
We have an electronic message center sign policy for our zoning ordinance. And
Do we have a policy that designates, I'm sorry, if I may.
Go ahead.
Designates height, width, illumination, its ability to move? Is it a distraction to traffic? It is a distraction to neighbors? Do we have a policy that, just those things that I'm just naming off the top of my head?
yes, that ordinance that was approved states some of those provisions along with our current sign code.
All of those or some of those?
I believe most. I don't know off the top of my head if we limit the amount of moving like per second. I don't know like the nits or the amount of illumination that we require.
All right, and there's, if I may address
Go ahead.
Mr. Ellingson, and those type of things that currently I don't think, in my opinion, we have a definite sign policy that creates these type of ordinances appropriately for people to come in and say, I want to put this sign up, where's my parameters, where can I work from? Am I incorrect, or maybe you could help me out there?
I think you're basically correct. We have some simple parts in it. We don't have a lot of detail to it. From what I understand, before a sign could be built, the IDOT has control of signage along the state routes, and basically a lot of rules would fall back to them if what we do have would be covered.
Okay, if I may.
For anything else.
Mr. Carlisle?
All right, I would like to, make sure we have our T's crossed, our I's dotted, and not our I's crossed and T's slashed. I agree in having a policy, so when clients and companies that come in that want to do this, they can actually say, okay, I see what you got. And we give them a broad enough review and statement that they could look at a policy and saying, okay, I can fit something within that, and not to do something that's, just because we want to do some things that maybe we can take off of IDOT. I'm kind of tired of doing that. I want a policy. I want somebody can say, I can follow that, I got it, I totally understand it. And so I'm just going to get off my soapbox. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elling. Mr. Carlisle, sorry.
Freudian.
Ms. Ward?
Yeah, I think I agree with Mr. Carlisle, because we're seeing more and more of them. In fact, there's one going up by the community building right now. And I think the city might have maybe tighter restrictions in there right now, because there's more going up in the city as well. So as tight as we can make it for the people who want them, I think is a good idea.
Mr. Carlisle?
One quick follow-up. Can we put this on an agenda for a specific committee so we can actually pull all this data together? Just a suggestion, and maybe we can talk about that at committee level.
If it's a zoning type issue, I think that would be Mr. Ellingson's committee, and if Mr. Ellingson so desires, that would be...
We can definitely put it on the agenda and take a look at the policy and review it. Start from there.
Okay. Ms. Gieske?
I'm sure I'm the only one in this room that's confused, but I want to make sure I've got this. The previous one was about an electronic message center off the site in B1, or changing A1 to B1. This one is just to approve billboards. Is that correct?
So the second special use, the second one, the special use, would be within our provisions that we already have. So that would meet the same requirements that are currently in our code, and just requesting a special use based on what we currently have in our text amendment. Whereas number 3 is asking to add additional language about adding larger signs than we permit. So asking for the ability to have signs lit and that are exceeding what we have available.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything further from the board? Mr. Newhouse?
Just for clarification, having policy which gives a definite and defined area so that everyone coming in can have a good look at it and know what is an appropriate request makes sense. To the point that we may be able to look and find language, sure, we can take a look at that. On the flip side, Boone County being mostly rural in nature, jumping into the billboard arena and lighted and moving billboard arena sounds like a huge jump to me. And I just on its merits, I still struggle with this.
Further discussion from the board? Would the applicant's representative like to say anything?
Do I need to restate
No.
name and address? Okay. Again, just by way of background, as with the previous application, this was, the text amendment was drafted with the special use approval and the zoning change in mind. And specifically, it is patterned, although not verbatim, off of the Winnebago County Code as it relates to billboards specifically. Again, it is not verbatim. There are provisions within the Winnebago County Code that did not seem to apply or were inapplicable to the current situation. But the genesis was that this particular property, which again is just south of US 20, which is considered a federal highway under the Illinois Highway Advertising Control Act of 1971, would fall under that act for regulatory purposes, would also be under the purview of the Illinois Department of Transportation, and then would be subject to the requirements as listed in the proposed text amendment. And Winnebago County specifically was chosen as the model, although it is certainly different in certain respects to Boone. It is an adjacent county which shares similar federal highways and interstates and has a relatively comprehensive code section in that regard.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the applicant at all? All right, thank you very much. Is there anything further from the board? Roll call, please.
Sherry Branson,
No.
Jeff Carlisle,
No. No.
Denny Ellingson,
No.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
No.
Ray Larson,
No.
Jessica Mueller,
No.
Marshall Newhouse,
No.
Bernard O'Malley,
No.
Brad Stark,
No.
Kathy Ward,
No.
Carl Johnson.
No. Motion fails. Mr. Ellingson, anything further?
No, sir. Thank you.
Next up, Finance, Ms. Gieske.
Thank you. Item 10.1 is a motion to approve claims with the understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting on all claims presented by William Charles and Associates and HD Supply, and Denny Ellingson abstains from voting on all claims presented by Conserve FS. This was approved in committee 5-0.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Gieske, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Mueller,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 10.2 is a motion to approve 2 credit cards for the probation department. This was approved in committee 5-0.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Gieske, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the final item under finance is a motion to approve ordinance 17-14, authoring the issuance of $425,000 debt certificates, Series 2017.
Motion by Ms. Gieske. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. O'Malley. Mr. Terranoni, you're waving and throwing your hands in the air, so I think you want to talk.
If the board, with leave of the board, I'd like to introduce Kevin McCanna with Spear Financial. He's here to briefly talk about the process of selling debt certificates and how you did in the markets yesterday.
Good evening. We've been taking...
Mr. McCann, if I could get you to state your name and address for the record for us,
Sure.
please.
Kevin McCanna, Spear Financial, Chicago. We solicited local banks and regional banks to do the $425,000 of debt certificates to purchase the building. These were non-rated paper. We received 3 bids. Huntington National Bank, 2.95, Stillman Bank, 3.05, and Popular Grove Bank, 3.50. And it worked, I think, very well. The price, or what you're going to pay back, is going to be $51,000 a year for 9.5 years. This is essentially what your rent is right now on the building, so that worked out real well. The costs were held down, like 2 years ago when we did the bond issue. Your AA2 bond rating from Moody's was confirmed. We did not spend the money to get a bond rating on this because of just going to the local banks. But I think everything worked fine, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Questions from the board? Ms. Ward.
I think it might be good to point out to for those of us who are here tonight and don't understand what's actually we're buying, to tell them what we're buying with this money.
Very good. This This debt certificate will be utilized to purchase the old Dixon building, which is currently being rented by the county for storage for sheriff's vehicles and assorted other things. So rather than continue to pay rent for a building when we can buy it for the same money, we decided it was probably a pretty good investment. So, especially if he happens to sell it to someone else, we have nowhere else to go. So that's the purpose of this endeavor, so to speak. So anything else from the board? All right. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, nothing further. Roll call, please.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Mueller,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That's it for finance.
One word of note, we're still working on the closing date for that building, so it'll either be the end of this month or first part of next month, it looks like. So, thank you very much. Nothing else for finance? All right. Roads, Mr. Stark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 11-1, motion to approve quote from Rockford IT for a server upgrade in the amount of $20,590.
Motion by Mr. Stark. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Ellingson. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Mueller,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
11-2, motion to approve a quote from Rockford IT for a spam filter upgrade in the amount of $1,395.
Motion by Mr. Stark. Is there a second? By Ms. Ward. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Mueller,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske.
Yes.
Motion carries.
11-3, motion to approve intergovernmental agreements with the Illinois Tollway Authority for maintenance on the Stone Quarry Road, Garden Prairie Road, and Genoa Road bridges.
Second.
Sorry, motion by Mr. Stark, seconded by
Sherry.
Ms. Gieske. Discussion? Mr. Newhouse.
These bridges and the agreements, is it ever portion of the agreements with these that ownership of the bridge changes hands once the work is done, or is this just work-related agreements?
This is mainly for guardrail, snow plowing, simple deck maintenance. We are not taking ownership of these bridges in no way, shape, or form.
Good.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Mueller,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
11-4, motion to authorize the sale of 4 retired paratransit buses previously used for the Section 5311 non-urban transportation program.
Motion by Mr. Stark, seconded
Second.
by Mr. O'Malley. Discussion? Mr. Stark?
At committee, we spoke about offering one of these buses, the one in the best repair, to the VAC. Dr. O'Malley was going to take that to them. Did that go anywhere?
Well, they had a closed meeting, but Kathy Ward went, and they actually declined because they just would like not to have the expense at this time.
Okay.
Sounds reasonable enough.
All right. Anything further? Mr. Newhouse.
What's the lowest mile vehicle, or are they needing to go down the road quickly?
I think most of them are north of 180,000 and 9 years old.
Let them go.
Anything further? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
11.5, motion to approve professional services agreement with CES Engineering for an intersection design study at Poplar Grove and Lawrenceville Road.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Stark, seconded by Mr. Ellingson. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Jessica Mueller,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yep.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye. Motion carries. Anything else, Mr. Stark?
Just a side note for everyone's to be aware of, road construction will be beginning on county and township roads throughout the county, starting the end of May through June. They're getting an early jump on our work that we came in under budget on, so everyone should be happy about being under budget and ahead of schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Stark. Mr. Carlisle, I see you have no motions. Anything you'd like to ponder?
No motions, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Carlisle. Mr. Newhouse, admin.
Mr. Chairman, 13.1, I would move to approve Resolution 17-23, elected officials' participation in IMRF.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse, seconded by Mr. Ellingson. Discussion. Mr. Terranoni.
Just clarification, IMRF is requiring all governing bodies that participate to do this resolution, and it pertains to the elected department heads who are in IMRF. Also, the document, it looks like you could have either the 600-hour rule or what they call the 1,000-hour rule. By default, Boone County is in the 1,000-hour rule. That means that's the minimum number of hours you have to work to be part of IMRF. So just clarifying that the resolution will institute or maintain, I guess is a better word, the 1,000-hour rule for the elected officials.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, 13.2, I would move to approve Ordinance 17-08, county meeting decorum to prohibit animals in the county boardroom except service dogs.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse. Is there a second? Ms. Gieske? Discussion. Mr. Newhouse.
Hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to look at the suggested language that came from the state's attorney's office. We have taken the liberty of looking at, I'd say 6 counties, and they all fall under the category of really no language at all or very simple language, essentially mimicking what our state's attorney has provided us. So I guess this all stems from dogs or dog in the boardroom in previous meetings in previous years, and if that is an issue for the current board that we want to take up.
Ms. Ward?
When I was looking at the minutes, I thought the vote was 4-1. Did I misread that, or was it 4-1? It's just, this is 5-0.
Mr. Newhouse, Mr.
I
Terranoni?
believe I'm going to go with the 4-1. I think we did have a dissent there.
I think that's correct. We just made a mistake on the recording of it. So,
Ms. Milner?
I would respectfully ask the board, thank you, Mr. Chairman, I would respectfully ask the board to set this aside. I don't think that a few isolated incidents by a single individual or anecdotal evidence of people's discourtesy with their animals, if they're not thoroughly regulated, is enough. It's not enough to support adding new ordinances to our already very heavy book. In addition to that, this is it sets up a potentially problematic with with enforcement, keeping with HIPAA regulations. This is a difficult thing for me, and I think that it's unnecessary.
Okay, thank you. Mr. O'Malley?
I just have two things. The meetings have been extremely crowded, and I think it doesn't behoove us. In the past, they weren't as busy. But they've been very busy now, very crowded. Plus, you don't have any, you don't know if they're licensed, you don't know if they even had their rabies shots, do you? So if you want to play it safe, you don't have the dogs here. You're going to have them, licensed. You're going to have them screened. We have licenses. We don't even enforce those in the county. But I think you've got to, because of the crowds we're having, I think your potential for a bite, even with a calm dog, could be a problem.
Ms. Ward?
I have been on this board for about 15 years, and I covered the boards for probably 30 years before that. In that time, I have probably seen a total of 4 dogs in this boardroom, maybe 5, 4. I have seen a couple people bring in to show what they do with comfort dogs, that they bring them into hospitals, and I think they did a good job doing that. And I saw one of our people who was very, very involved with our animal shelter after his wife passed away and his dog was nearly dying, brought the dog along. Those are I don't know if I've seen a service dog, but you have to allow those. You cannot prevent them from coming in anyway. So certainly a service dog may or not have a rabies shot, but I agree with Jessica. I mean, there's so many things that our county people are asking us to do, and we're looking at something that is a problem to very, very few people and never has been. I'd rather have us concentrate on things that we can actually help our people with. I don't think this is one of them.
Mr. Newhouse?
I'd probably go back to the discussion we had 2 or 3 committees ago when we were talking about new language for billboards, increasing the size, lighting them, having them move. This was the first request. Do we have our ducks in a row? Can we get things more cohesive? All right, that first request puts the board into gear. We deal with it. I view this the same way. We had a first incident of the first dog that came in, and Mrs. Ward said there's been 4 over the years. I will just concentrate on the one that I heard about recently and say, if it's something that was not addressed appropriately at that time, I think this would offer a minimal amount of language that people could see it and recognize that out of respect for other people in the audience, this is a reasonable request.
Any further discussion? Any further motions? All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say, Mr. Newhouse?
This is suggested language. So I guess for the discussion purposes and for the motion would be to implement this sentence. Am I correct, Ken? Or would this just be to move forward with language similar to this that the state's attorney provided? And I will read that. Okay, well, it's up there on the screen.
Mr. Chairman, thoughts?
It would, if you approve it, it would then become an ordinance on your code. We have an ordinance number assigned, and we have the wording.
Based on this wording from the state's attorney? Okay, thank you. Further discussion? One last time, Mr. Newhouse?
I like it.
Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Aye.
No.
I believe we had 3 noes. Motion carries. City County Coordinating. Ms. Ward, I see no motions. Do you have anything you'd like to let us know about?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you. Public Safety. Mr.
No,
Larson?
no motions from Public Safety, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Special Committee, Community Building.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think if you've gone by the community building lately, you have noticed that construction is well underway for this $900,000 project. It's on schedule. It should be completed in August. And we have approved a digital sign that will be going up to help the people in this county know what's going on. And we meet tomorrow night, sir.
Thank you very much. UCCI, Mr. Terranoni.
Dr. O'Malley and I will be traveling Monday to their meeting in Springfield.
All right. Community Action Agency, Ms. Ward.
We meet next week, sir.
All right. 911, Mr. Newhouse.
I have to admit that last month I was sitting on a corn planter during the meeting. I played hooky. My apologies.
We'll forgive you this one time. You haven't had much opportunity to sit on that corn planter.
About 1 day in 10 is about the way it's working out.
Any other committees? All right, scheduling of committees. Ms. Kieske.
Finance, the next meeting of the Finance Committee will be on June 13th at 6 p.m. in this room.
The next Public Safety Committee meeting will be June 12th at 6 p.m. in this room.
Mr. Ellingson?
The next PZB meeting is in question, and I believe there's no ZBA meeting next week, correct? I think Hillary's gone, but I think there was nothing.
I don't think there is a ZBA next week.
There's
Right.
nothing coming before it. If there is any business to come before the PZB, notice we'll be giving, and that meeting will be the 31st of May, 1 week ahead of normal.
Mr. Newhouse.
Admin, Monday, June 5th, 6 p.m., this room.
City County, Wednesday, June 14th at 6 p.m. in this room.
Mr. Carlisle.
June 1st, Health and Human Services, 6 o'clock, this facility.
Mr. Stark.
Roads and Capital Improvement, June 6th, this room, 6 o'clock.
Thank you very much. Any unfinished business? Ms. Ward.
Yes, I was not able to attend the court hearing on what's going on with Garden Prairie Organics. Can we get an update on where that stands?
Listening to everyone else get admonished. Yes, so the question was, what is the update on Garden Prairie Organics? The AG's office and the attorney for Garden Prairie Organics entered into an agreed order as to the preliminary injunction that was filed by the AG's office. So the Attorney General filed a preliminary injunction asking that Garden Prairie Organics either comply with a certain portion of their permit that requires them to spread this landscape waste into what they call windrows, spread it out so that it doesn't smell, essentially. That's one of the counts of the complaint against them. To comply with that order, or with that portion of their permit within a week's time, or else they would have to close their doors to accepting further product in. The business did comply with that order within the week's time. There was a court date, I believe it was last Friday, by which they had to comply, and they did comply a couple days ahead of that time.
Okay.
So and now the rest of the lawsuit just proceeds.
Okay.
But with respect to that portion of their permit, they are in compliance.
Okay.
Or were as of last Friday.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, anything else? Mr. Newhouse.
This is probably way out in left field, but I would like to pose the question to Ken. This last week, the international community had a computer problem, and it dealt with something that came through everyone's computer, and information was held ransom, and I believe it was called WannaCry. Now, I realize in the whole scheme of things, Boone County government is a very small piece of the pie, but if somebody was to play malicious with our government information on all of our computers, are we anywhere nearly protected, or are we just as vulnerable as all the other entities that have been hurt this last week?
Well, someone once told me there's two types of people in the world, those that have been hacked and those that don't know they've been hacked.
Okay.
So you're seeing more and more of this happen. I am no expert on this, believe me. We have an outstanding IT staff in the Sheriff's Department, and Monday we took their direction and loaded in what's called a patch on our servers that really should keep this particular attack at bay and not affect us. But I will tell you, this is the first time you've ever had UCCI issue a bulletin on this attack and what to do. They've never gotten involved in cyber issues. I get newsletters on Homeland Security. It was lit up everywhere. This was a big deal, and I think it's really older Microsoft products that were affected. And today you're in a Windows 7 or 10 environment, and we've downloaded the patch. So we've taken all reasonable precautions. I think this affected older versions and like XP or even older than that in other countries where they haven't updated. It's just more evidence that we have to think of IT as any other management thing you do in an organization and keep it current and keep on it.
Mr. Newhouse?
I don't know enough about computers to even know how to ask the right questions, so this probably belongs in admin committee, but I'll throw it out here anyway. Did what you just say, Ken, is that we as a county are storing information daily, weekly, or regularly to protect ourselves from this, or what's our procedure in a quick nutshell?
We do backups for everything, multiple backups, so we check those almost every day. So if you lost your data, you should be able to recover it through backup. This is a different kind of attack, though. It locks down your data, and you can't even get to it unless you pay the ransom, which very interestingly is through bitcoins. If you know what those are, that's not money. It's virtual currency. So you'd have to go open up, I don't even know how you get into the Bitcoin game, but they're traded on the open market like gold and silver and everything. So it's more interesting is that the way they wanted to be paid is through the Bitcoin. So I think we're doing the reasonable steps that you do in IT. We have the latest anti-virus software. You just approved something tonight that we really needed to update with a spam filter. We changed out some patches, so we're doing what we are able and know of to do.
Anything further from anyone? Any new business, Ken?
I just would like to comment very briefly about a software conversion project on payroll that was just completed and very successfully. And I really want to thank three individuals, Justin Miller in my office, Erica Bluegee in the clerk's office, and Michelle Holzhauer. They really took hold of this project, and they literally trained everyone down to the employee level on how to use it. So I'm very appreciative of that. And I also want to thank Justin Miller. I don't know if you're aware, but he is moving on to the suburbs, so he will be very missed, and I just want to publicly thank him for everything he has done for us and in my office. And last but not least, Madam Clerk, I've known you since the day I came here, and I just appreciate and admire so much how you've run the office, and to see you move up to that position is so gratifying. So best wishes to you in your well-deserved retirement.
Thank you, Ken.
Anything else? Justin, I would echo what Ken said. You'll be missed. You've been a vital asset to our Boone County community, and we're going to miss you, but good luck to you in your future endeavors. Absolutely good luck as you move on. Thank you. Informational items, Ken?
The State's Attorney's Office is holding a Open Meetings Act training on the 24th in this room, which reminds me we better publish. This is for county board members, so I think we need to publish something.
It is. It's for county board members, and we've invited some other people too that we thought could use this information. It'll be a little potpourri, Open Meetings Act, FOIA, and some records retention and destruction information as well.
Okay. I see we need executive session, and then we have anticipated motions coming out of executive session. So, can I have a motion for executive session?
So move. Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Malley, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Roll call, please. Oops, I'm sorry, hold on.
For litigation, land acquisition, and collective bargaining, or some of those three?
What do we?
All three.
For all three.
Okay.
So the answer would be yes.
No, that has to be in the
That's
motion.
in the motion.
Yes, that's in the motion. Roll call, please.
Marshall Newhouse.
Yep.
Bernard O'Malley.
Yes.
Brad Stark.
Yes.
Kathy Ward.
Yes.
Carl Johnson.
Yes.
Sherry Branson.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Denny Ellingson.
Yes.
Sherry Gieske.
Yes.
Carl Larson.
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Jessica Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Well, right, and no, I didn't actually, but I had to set that aside because I got a little bit busy. But, you don't mind if I don't forget about that? Well, I want to see if they paid, what their liability is for personal property, the replacement tax liability. Is it,